the idea for me was I went into digital media because I kind of saw some of the stuff coming along in terms of like digital filmmaking and stuff. And I was like, well, go back to school, maybe try to figure out what the next step was. And I don't want to say that I gave up on the music because I think it's still, if you're really true to the music, if you're true to the culture, it's always a part of you. I mean, I grow up like the soundtrack when I run in my head is like old Biggie, Tupac, Rakim, that
And you
type of
met
stuff.
you met Tupac, right? I don't know if you could talk about that
Yeah, I
so
met
much, but
I met Tupac back. It was like once again, one of the last years I was actually shopping demos. There was a huge rap conference down in Atlanta called Jack the Rapper, where people from all over the country would come, and the year that I went with my music producer Stacy Burkett was the same year that P Diddy, Puff Daddy at the time, or Puffy as he was called, was basically promoting the launch of Bad Boy Records. And I remember being at the conference, and he had a great marketing campaign even back then. They had these little cards, like these little cards that he was passing out, and it was a picture of a little baby, little bit with a big afro, holding a microphone and diapers, and it was Bad Boy Entertainment. It was something like the next level of or the future of hip hop or some shit like that,
hmm
and it was one of those things that kind of stuck in my head like 20 years later. And it was everybody who was anybody who was there. You had Puffy, I saw Tupac, and I remember it was the first time I'd seen a lot of the like West Coast dudes like up close. And the thing about Tupac that really just kind of caught me was I didn't realize how short he was.
how sure
Because
was he?
he was a little, I'm about 6'3", and I don't know, like Pac was one of those dudes like loom large, like
Oh
in terms of
yeah,
his music.
think of him. Yeah,
Right. When you so
yeah.
when I thought of him, I thought he was easily at least my height. But Tupac was like maybe 5'6", five maybe,
Wow.
you know, 5'6", 5'7", you know, very smart, very animated, a real dude was somebody that you could see like, not to kind of mess with,
Yeah.
even with a small stature. But it was wild to be in that type of environment and to see a lot of the dudes from the West Coast. 'Cause I don't say knew most of the East Coast guys, but I've seen them at least.
hmm
But Tupac was kind of a shock for me in terms of how, like, physically how he was, And it wasn't too long after that he wound up passing. Biggie was there that year. Um, Everybody who was anybody was down at Jack the Rapper, and that was the last time I was shopping my demo around, like with 50 million other people at the time too. So
Well, that reminds me of the uh, so like in VHS Massacre, you were helping me. You were in it, which was awesome, and you helped me. We produced some stuff. You helped me figure out how to phrase certain things and all that stuff. Um, so that's was that how was that for you? I don't know. Was that like a fun experience? That was only a one off. That it was
that was
pretty quick.
it was funny because you asked me the interview part that we did was after one of the classes,
Yeah.
and I was talking to students about like the whole issue of like piracy and how to do it, how to not do it, and the legalities and stuff behind it. And for me, it was fun because I mean I love talking about this whole issue of like disruption, just like with the music field. And that was one of the reasons why, like, from the standpoint of how artists, the tools that they have available to them now, promoting their own stuff, the music business kind of shot themselves in the foot by not jumping on things very early on.
hmm
Same thing is happening to a lesser degree with the film industry.
Yep.
And for me, I love talking about it. So the piece that we did in terms of VHS Massacre, it was great. It was
Yeah, I thought it added so much. It flushed out all that stuff that we needed. We needed someone, an expert in there to talk about the whole, pirating aspect. But it's so funny that you mentioned that theme, like um, Hollywood's slow ability to adapt was the basically paralleled the music industry too. I think.
and the music industry hasn't recovered. I mean,
Yeah.
I
You think it
stopped.
ever will?
I don't think so, and largely because stop and think about all the students we know. None of them really buy albums anymore.
No, I don't know any students who purchase music.
Right. It's like, if you don't do it from a streaming service, you bootleg it, you pirate it, you snag it from other people, and
Or you just listen to it on YouTube.
right.
It's like every freaking song's on YouTube.
I mean, and there's tools that you can use directly through your browser to grab just the audio section of the videos that they play online. So
Yeah, that's a clip converter and what's another?
YouTube downloader is one. I mean, there's a ton of them out there. So I can't see the music industry, especially this younger generation. They've grown up now with the whole concept of not paying for things.
Yeah, and you said that in the doc. Free movies, free music. Like, that is what they grew up with. So how the fuck are you supposed to put that back in the box?
Especially when a lot of the music that's out now isn't really that good.
No, I mean, it was... I think that was what was refreshing, like, hearing your tune, was that I was like, oh, man, you hear it and you realize you can hear how much effort's put into it and how much was required to make that happen. It's also me knowing that, like, in the 90s, you couldn't just fucking open GarageBand and crank something out. But
No.
but you can hear it, you can hear the difference, I think it's...
I mean, it was done in a home studio in this attic in Bensonhurst. And it was a trip because it was back when, like, brothers didn't really go out to Bensonhurst, But the producer who I was working with, Stacy Burkett at the time, the main reason I was working with Stacy, I met Stacy through a mutual friend of ours. Stacy had one of the more affordable studios. He was a struggling artist himself at the time, and it was doable in terms of a price. Mm-hmm. So I would travel out there, and Stacy worked on a lot of different types of music. He used to work in one of the I forget, one of the hip hop labels, basically behind the scenes, and he would produce music for a lot of artists underground. One of the groups that he used to work with was the guys from the guys from Diggable Planets. I don't know if you remember them.
Yeah, sure.
Cool Like That, whatever.
Yeah.
They actually did their first demo in his studio.
Oh, that's cool.
So Stace was no joke.
There's a lot of that, man. Like, I remember in Connecticut, it was like my brother and my friend Todd Reynolds, they started their own audio studio.
Right.
It was basically in these, like, not a basement, but it was like the I guess it was a basement. It was like the lower floor of this corporate thing.
Right.
And they had a place. They were probably paying like $500 a month, and they had about $50,000 worth of audio gear in there, And there was a lot of places like that, and I there's got to be less. I mean, there's probably a lot of people running stuff out of their apartments nowadays. I mean, imagine.
The dudes like Stacy couldn't do that stuff now, or guys like Stacy, it would be difficult for them. Mm-hmm. Largely because look at the tools that we have. We joke around about GarageBand and stuff like that, but the tools are pretty friggin' powerful compared to what we had like back in the 90s in terms of like samples. You had like, Stacy had about 3 or 4 like, $3,000-$4,000 samplers that now you could do with pretty much an iPad and
Yep.
So why
would
that
fucker Skrillex or whatever? The guy's
DJ
doing,
Skrillex?
Stu does all this shit on, like, the way he talked about it. He would create his tunes on the road on a laptop, and he just keep cranking them out. Like, he would just do it in his hotel room, make some jams and put them out.
There's this filmmaker that I used to do martial arts with, train with, a guy named Casey Neistat. And he was basically telling me when I first met him, we were, he found out I was doing digital media. I found out he was a filmmaker. So one of the first questions I asked him was like, what equipment do you use, shoot with? And he told me a lot of his his first stuff that he was doing, he edited on iMovie. And I was like, are you serious? Which is crazy. I thought it was crazy because I was a big Final Cut guy.
Well, you were saying his stuff was on HBO or whatever?
He had a development deal with HBO where they had a show called The Neistat Brothers. I think it ran for like 1 or 2 seasons. And a lot of the stuff that was on that show, he told me, was his old material that they edited basically on iMovie initially.
Yeah, I can't fucking
And
believe it.
yeah, and then the guys from HBO, he sent them the raw stuff, and I guess they blew it up or whatever they
Yeah,
needed to
yeah.
do to make it production quality. But the initial stuff was shot on iMovie. And the number one thing I took from him and other artists who are like him, it's the tools are almost at this point now irrelevant. It's not so much like having the greatest camera, it's about the storyteller. It's about the music. Is the articles are you creating, are they decent enough that they tell a story, inspire people, motivate them, something along those lines.
Right. Well, I think of like filmmakers like Kevin Smith, who I really love, but
I love Kevin Smith, actually.
great. Yeah.
I do.
In Clerks